Welcome everyone back to our show. Today we are delighted to have Casey out of the Southern California market. Is that correct? Join us today.
Beautiful
Excellent.
Santa Barbara, California.
Wonderful, beautiful place, beautiful location. And so today we have an interesting show because we're going to talk about Casey and how they've built their team. But more importantly, what I love about these conversations is what tools and offerings are they really doing to bring in the business for their core team, but also for other agents. This could be an opportunity for you guys all across the country to be able to leverage some of the things that they are doing well, and they have actually a tool for that. So we'll get to that towards the end. But why don't you tell me a little bit about, share with the audience, how long you've been in the business, what's the makeup of your team, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Spencer. I appreciate it. Like I said, my name is Casey O'Toole. I've been in real estate for about 7 or 8 years. I joined my brother's real estate practice, Sean, and he's been in business for 15 or 20 years, quite a while. And yeah, we work the Santa Barbara and Ventura County markets, and that's pretty fun. But my background is not really in real estate. My background is more in kind of tech and data science. And so when I joined my brother's real estate practice, I wasn't really into a lot of the kind of old-fashioned ways of generating business, and I didn't have any referrals coming through. Mm-hmm. So I had to kind of be more innovative with how I created business, which is kind of what led me to LinkedIn as like a real powerful source for generating business for our real estate practice. And it gets us probably 20% of our business that comes in, it comes through LinkedIn. We did 50 million in sales last year, just between Sean and I, and about 10 million of that came through LinkedIn. So it's a powerful tool.
So that's incredible, right? That's a tremendous amount of GCI from one source. And LinkedIn is not very talked about. I mean, there's all this talk about pushing things on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and things like that. And even TikTok has been extremely popular. But LinkedIn has been this platform that not a lot of agents have been utilizing. And so how did you first discover of even using LinkedIn? Not even about the solution that you've created, but even as a platform. When did you feel like, oh, wow, there's actually some things progressing from here that are actually working?
Yeah, I get that question a lot, and everyone's like, what do I use LinkedIn for? It's people say like it's the redheaded stepchild, and all I get is spam messages, and I'm not trying to recruit anybody. Why do I? So many, like, there's so much confusion, and honestly, I didn't expect my career to kind of take the turn towards LinkedIn. I didn't know how powerful it could be until we kind of stumbled upon it, and the way that kind of our origin story, how we stumbled upon it, is kind of funny because, again, I was mentioning, I didn't really know how to generate business on my own. And so what me and Sean created originally was we were doing lunch and learns at local companies here in Santa Barbara. Oh. And so we'd go into like Procore, Logic Monitor, these bigger tech organizations here in town. And we would talk about, buy versus rent, how to refinance, things like just questions that would be pertinent to their employees, so they wouldn't have to leave the office to, buy a home. And then we got some business from that. But interestingly enough, like only maybe 1 or 2% of all the employees actually attended these lunch and learns. Right. But that didn't really discount what we offered them, right? So what I did is after the initial lunch and learn at Procore, I'm like, how can I get a hold of them? How can I let them all know about our services and what we just did? And because we offered, I think, up to 10% of our commission, or up to $4,000 back at close of escrow, to all Procore employees. So I wanted the whole Procore company to know that. So I figured out, let's check out LinkedIn. And sure enough, I was able to search very easily for every single Procore employee that works that's on LinkedIn. And I just started manually going connect. And when they end up connecting with me, I'm like, hey, Spencer, great to meet you. My name's Casey. Thanks for connecting here on LinkedIn. Not sure if you made it to the lunch and learn, but the main takeaway is we help Procore buy homes. We offer up to $4,000 back at close of escrow, et cetera, et cetera. So we kind of create that bridge through LinkedIn about how they might know us. Then we offer the value of like, credit back or home valuation or whatever it might be. And then you ask for business. And that one kind of lunch and learn / kind of LinkedIn connection value offering got us like 2 or 3 deals from Procore almost immediately. And so that's kind of how we kind of stumbled upon it. It was by accident and it worked really well. And from there, we kind of then built a system around it, and now we kind of package it and sell it to other realtors. But it's a powerful tool, and it works really well. So yeah, that's kind of how it works.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, the beauty of LinkedIn versus all of these other platforms is the individuals are creating these profiles themselves that are actually, quite frankly, as up to date as one can be. So you can really target people by, like, you just looked at the people that work at XYZ company, or you can look at somebody by XYZ profession, right? If you're trying to target by profession. So LinkedIn has always been that source of a lot of very good data. The always the unknown and question was, did people just go on LinkedIn just when it comes to getting a new job?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's an ongoing thing that LinkedIn has to obviously deal with themselves. But you can see there's a lot of things that they have been working on the last couple of years, whether it's like those articles, whether it's just, it is a lot more, to be fair, they've done a lot of things to be a lot more like Facebook and these other platforms. You can see like all the little acknowledgement buttons that you have now. It's a lot more social from that regard. So they understand, like, look, we need to get people to be on the platform outside of just updating when it comes to a job search. And so they've been working on that. But the benefit is the information is generally very recent and is very good. Now, how often they check LinkedIn is a different question. And that's a different matter altogether, right? But at least from the information of knowing who to even potentially reach out to, it's been really, really powerful. Mm-hmm. So then walk us through. So you had that first revelation, right? Okay, oh, this is interesting. This is a good platform. But you mentioned a lot of things in the beginning. You have to manually do things, maybe manually type, copy and paste or something of this message. So how did it, from your background now in a little bit in more tech, how did you discover this, a tool or a platform to be able to do those mundane things consistently? And to be fair, I do have to ask, is there any risk for the individual's profile because it's not, yourself, you're maybe using a system? Like, walk me through that.
Yeah. So it's, I'm a big kind of automation fan and kind of like growth hacker, efficiency hacker. And I mean, one of our first companies in fact, the way I kind of initially launched into Santa Barbara was we used email marketing, and we would we'd use cold emails. We got homeowner databases, their addresses, etc. And we provided like home valuation sites, and that worked really well. But with email, there's only a finite number of people that you can reach out to, and also it's a very abrasive, risky kind of platform, in my opinion. People get really upset when you know their first name and where they live. They're like, how do you know me, right? How do you get my address? And unless you have very accurate data, it's risky too, because it's like you might be reaching out to Spencer, but the email is like, your son or your child, so email wasn't our favorite. LinkedIn's different. LinkedIn, it has a profile photo. So even if you come across with a message that may seem spammy, they see your face, they'll see who you're connected with. It's the chances of them being like upset or angry with you because you reached out to them is much lower. That being said, I definitely recommend all of our clients and anyone using LinkedIn to not send out spammy messages, because that is how you would get your account at risk. Basically, it's some algorithm, which I don't really know what it is.
Right.
But it's the amount of people who ignore your connection request and then say, I don't know this person. Ignore, I don't know this person. And the I don't know this person is kind of like someone hitting spam on your email.
Right.
It's a very low threshold. So you got to be careful with that. But the best way of avoiding that is by being very personal and very customized with your messages when you initially connect, and provide the value almost immediately without being spammy. So it's, saying, hey, Spencer, I see you went to UCSB. So did I. That's great. I'm local here in town and let's connect. So there's already a reason for the connection. and therefore they're not going to like disconnect or flag you or anything. So there is risk. None of our clients have ever gotten shut down or, you know, long-term restrictions. But yeah, I mean, if you do it right, it's really positive and really powerful. I mean, it's kind of like when you're doing cold calls. You know, if you do your research and have a good message and you're calling expired listings or, you know, FSBOs, you won't get hung up on as much. You still get hung up on, but you won't get hung up on as much. So yeah, do it right and it works.
So how does the platform and the service exactly work then? So if even though we're not doing a live demo or anything like that, but technically walk us through, like, how does it work? How complicated is it to get this set up? Is it a separate program that runs, or how does it actually get set up?
Yeah, so it's pretty simple setup. The hard part and more kind of creative part is strategizing with our clients on what sort of campaigns we can create for them, right? So, I mean, what sort of affiliation or affinity do you have towards, you know, specific industries or types of people? We use Sales Navigator, which is a LinkedIn premium product. And you basically can create those like bridges of relationships through those filters. I mean, they have universities, like, so where people went to school. They have occupations, titles of like where, you know, what titles they have, seniority level, company size. There's lots of really unique filtering systems using LinkedIn Sales Navigator. And so the fun part is being like, well, what's your objective here? What do you want? Are you trying to find buyers? Are you trying to find sellers? Are you trying to recruit or do agent attraction? What's your objective? After we kind of know what your objective is, we go, okay, so then what sort of in do you have? What sort of like connection would you have with people of this demographic? So, I mean, some of our best clients, their spouses are in the healthcare field. So we'll reach out to healthcare professionals, or they're veterans, or their spouse is a veteran, whatever it might be. So we'll find veterans that are in their area, but some sort of connection. And then based on those connections, we'll then craft a script to then provide each of those people, each of those prospects with, you know, the message, the value, the call to action. So a lot of the back-end stuff is all on us and our services. So it's super easy for our clients. All they have to do is log into LinkedIn and reply to the messages. So we do all the strategy and implementation. And then the follow-up and the follow-through is on our clients to then set the appointments. Got
it. So that's very interesting. So I know there's multiple solutions out there for this. I think there's one that's just something out of the box. You got to deal with yourself. There's one model, and then it sounds like with your model, you have the option. It's some solution, some black box in a sense, but you have that consultancy arm to really set that up for them, troubleshoot, maybe provide some almost like support and training for it. Is that fair to say of your model versus maybe some solutions out there that are just you just plug them in yourself, you got to deal with it yourself?
Exactly. Yeah. So you're hitting the nail. So I mean, there are automation tools out there.
Right.
And we use one that's like that they no longer accept any new clients. So we're kind of grandfathered into it, which is kind of nice.
Interesting.
But you got to be careful. So and so you can look into, there's like linked helper and things like that. But the tricky part is if you don't do it correctly, you are putting your account at risk, right? The other thing is that it's somewhat technical. And so unless you have a technical background and have time to do it, you may not do it correctly, or you just won't leverage it in the way that you should. So our services are more geared towards folks who just want things to be done for them and keep their accounts safe.
Right.
And then the other kind of nice thing too is that our system integrates with Zapier, which is like a third-party kind of software integration tool.
Yeah.
And so we can even provide you or even connect your CRMs with our system, which would then, you know, zap automatically each new connection into your preferred CRM with all the data: first name, last name, email, phone number, location, etc. It's pretty cool.
Wow, no, that's very good, and that's the thing that I want people to also hear and understand about any technology tool. To be fair, yes, there are many tools out there, not just for LinkedIn, but just in general that you can use. The beauty and also the quite frankly the harder part is, yes, you have this tool which does some widget. The question is, how do you don't abuse the tool? But if you're not familiar with it, how do you not know like how far do you push it? Right. And Casey's team can really help with that of like understanding, okay, yeah, you're being I mean, we can do this, but you're being very aggressive. It's almost that consulting kind of conversation. So that's kind of one aspect. And the other aspect is what exactly do you say and what is the cadence that you may want to put, right? It's probably not a good idea for the very first cold message of, hey, look, I'm a realtor in your area, I want to connect, like something like that, right? That's probably not a very good acceptance rate. And as a recap of what Casey brought up, for LinkedIn, when you send a request out and for them to write, I don't know you, it's really a couple of steps that they have to do, right? One, they got to say no to you. So they got to X you out. And the other thing, there's a separate thing that pops up separately that says, I don't know you. So for someone to write X and that, it's basically, they really want to report you or really want to say, I don't know you, right? Because there's like many different gates.
Exactly.
So for you to be able to minimize it, yeah, maybe they just ignore you. That's okay. That's normal. Or they just exit out, but they don't do that. Then that will certainly help your own chances of not getting in too much trouble.
Yeah. And it's kind of a bummer because I mean, I have this debate with a lot of other real estate professionals that are in tech. And they don't like LinkedIn either for that reason where they feel like it's spammy, right? And it bugs me because there is a lot of spam out there and it's so obvious to identify. And I don't know why people do it. I mean, we've all seen them. So if most of your audience is in real estate, it's the people that say, I can generate 10x your revenue in the next 7 days, guaranteed. Right. And then their title is like real estate growth expert, right? And it's, who that is, and the very next message is going to be a spammy message, right? But real estate is not about getting a ton of leads. It's about relationships, right? And everyone knows that the more relationships that you can create, the more business you'll get. And so we take a different approach, and it's really successful. And again, you can use this just on your own and do it through LinkedIn without using our services. But you make it super casual and you make it very personal and customized, and you get much better results.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, that's precisely it. And I appreciate you sharing that. And this is the beauty of this. The show is being able to go in. There's so many different ways, right? At the end of the day, the 20% business that you have, obviously there's 80% of other ways, and it is what it is of the source that comes in. But if anybody's looking for a new avenue, or they maybe tried it in the past and it hasn't worked as well, Casey's team has this solution that can at least attempt it. Now, to be fair too, Casey and myself, we're in the coast. And so to be very fair, LinkedIn is not a widely used solution across the country equally. And LinkedIn knows that, right? LinkedIn has traditionally been more white collar. It's just what it is. And I know they've been trying to push more for even like general contractors to be in there, like all these other professions. So you also just have to understand on your end and understand your own local market. Who are the clients that are there? Are they white collar, their management, these kind of positions? They'll more likely be on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. But if most of your clients aren't in that capacity, you just have to kind of understand that. And so
and who doesn't want more luxury listings? I mean, you can filter for CEOs, founders, partners, directors of companies that have more than 50 employees, say, and chances of them owning a luxury property or owning a house are much higher than, sadly to say, but blue collar workers. And so, I mean, if you're in real estate, this really is where your audience is, right? And I actually kind of like and appreciate how people don't use LinkedIn every day like they do email, because that gives you a little bit more of a buffer in terms of their demanding or their expectations in terms of you replying to them. If they're only logging in once a week, they reply to your message they'll give you the same kind of feedback or the same kind of buffer of to reply to their message, right? So it's to me, I kind of like it. Whereas if you send out an email, they reply, and then you take a week to get back to them. Mm-hmm. Like, who is this guy? This guy's not professional at all. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I kind of like that approach, or that I like that aspect of it.
No, that's very true. Yeah, just different platforms have different levels of expectations of communication, and then obviously once you finish a conversation there, you can always take it to the traditional routes of email, phone numbers afterwards once you have that established. Well, Casey, thank you so much for being on the show, and thank you for sharing how this has been impactful for you as one of the lead pillars that doesn't get talked about much. How can people get a hold of you? And also, I'll have it in the links below of a link for you to either reach out to Casey and or to potentially even sign up. But what are other ways for people to get a hold of you?
Yeah, I mean, search for us on Facebook. You can find us on, obviously I'm on LinkedIn, so find me on LinkedIn, friend me on LinkedIn. Website is My Link Solution. So that's our website if you want to find us there. Yeah, or just, ask about us. You can ask about us in different Facebook groups. You can ask about us, and if you want to kind of vet us, but lots of options. We're out there.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time, Casey. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you guys at the next episode. Bye now.
Thanks, Spencer.